Sentire Media.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of A New Life in Italy, the podcast where we dive into everything that you need to know about living, thriving, and creating the Italian life that you've been dreaming about. I'm your host, Samantha Wilson, and today we're talking about something that's equal parts thrilling and kind of terrifying, and that is packing up your life and moving to Italy. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever caught yourself scrolling through Instagram, looking at all those dreamy pictures of Italian piazzas and food and cappuccino and all of those things and thinking, wow, could I actually do this? Well, guess what? You absolutely can. And today I've got someone here who's done just that. Vanessa Reid. She is a Canadian content creator, and she moved to Torino just 8 months ago. And she's here to share her honest and kind of funny story about what it's like to start fresh in a city that she has never even been to before. We're talking about the good, the messy, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. So whether you're planning your own move or just curious about what it takes to build a new life in Italy, this episode is packed with inspiration, real talk, and a few laughs. So grab your coffee or your glass of wine and let's get into it. I'm Samantha Wilson, Chief Dream Maker at smartmoveitaly.com, and this is A New Life in Italy, a show where each week I take you behind the scenes of what it's really like to move to Italy, introduce you to some fascinating people, answer your questions, and show you how starting a new life in Bel Paese is possible for you. All right, let's get real for just a second. Moving to Italy for some of you is more than just a dream. It's real. The idea of moving isn't just something that you're thinking about, it's actually something that you're talking about. And you're probably actively learning and talking to others and taking these little tester trips to Italy to see if it's right for you. And you're getting more and more serious as the days and the months pass. Now, moving to another country, really any country, is not easy. And there's going to be ups and downs and wins and losses. You're talking about uprooting your life, navigating a new culture, learning a new language, and making new friends. It is a lot. But I can tell you, not just because I've done it myself, but because every year thousands of people pack up and make the move to live their dream life here in Italy. And at one point, at some time, they were exactly where you are now. And that's exactly why I am so excited today to speak to Vanessa, because let's face it, while dreaming about Italy can be fun, of course, figuring out how to actually make it happen can feel a little overwhelming. I mean, where do you even start? My guest today is Vanessa Reid. She is a fellow Canuck, and she is a Canadian who made the leap recently. So the move and the motivation and the fitting in is still kind of fresh. She's a dual Italian citizen, which is her pathway in, and she decided to trade her life in Toronto for this fresh start in Torino, which actually is a city that she has never been to. Yeah, you heard it right. She packed up her bags, everything that she had, and she moved to a city that she knew nothing about. Kind of brave? Absolutely. A little weird? Maybe. But her story is proof that sometimes taking a big risk can pay off in the best of ways. Vanessa's journey is more than just logistics, although, of course, we're going to talk about those. But it's about embracing change and leaning into the discomfort and figuring out all of it as you go. Does that sound a little familiar? Well, if you've got big dreams brewing, whether it's Italy or something else entirely, her story is going to speak to you. So what we're going to dive into is choosing the right city, how affordability and lifestyle played a huge role in Vanessa's decision to move to Torino. We're going to talk about her problems with language barriers and getting over them, with building a community, and all of the effort that it actually takes. Now, Vanessa's story isn't just for the dreamers, by the way, it's also for the doers. So if you've been waiting for a sign to choose your own Italian dream, this just might be it. Are you ready? Let's jump in. Well, hello, Vanessa. Thank you so much for coming to the show today. Another Canadian. I love it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here with you.
Yeah, well, listen, for people who don't know who you are, I know that you have a lot of
Mhm.
followers on your Tenacious Blonde Instagram account.
Yes, yes.
But for those of you who haven't seen you before, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you live and, all that stuff.
Yes. So I am Vanessa, and I am a content creator living in Torino, Italy. I am a dual citizen with Canada and Italy.
Ah, okay.
So I've been living here for 8 months now,
Oh, only eight
and
months.
only 8 months.
Oh,
I'm
hey.
new.
You're a baby still.
Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, I made the move in March of 2024.
Hmm.
And so I chose Torino specifically. And it's a very interesting story. So, because I never visited Torino before moving here,
Hmm.
which is a bit wild.
Yeah.
But, so my partner and I, before moving to Italy, we were planning on moving. We wanted to make the move from Toronto, Canada. That's where I'm from.
Hmm.
And at the time, and still, we both wanted a change of lifestyle. He's Italian, and I'm half Italian from
Hmm.
descent. My grandmother was born in Basilicata, which is south.
Hmm.
So I was able to get my citizenship. So we decided to choose a city in Italy, and we were looking at Milan, we were looking at Florence, where you are, we were looking at Bologna, we were looking at Rome. But in terms of cost of living,
Hmm.
Torino ended up being the most economic out of all of the cities.
Yeah.
And there's so much history in Torino. Like, I don't know if you know, but Torino was actually the first capital of Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, we moved here, and I was so pleasantly surprised. The city is so elegant. The people are extremely, extremely nice. There's lots of bars, restaurants, things to do. I'm super close to the mountains. Like,
Right.
the balance of city and mountains is just unbelievable.
Oh,
So yeah,
now,
it was just.
your partner's Italian. So is he dual as well, or was he actually living in Italy?
So we met in Canada, and he
Mm.
is an Italian citizenship. However, when we both moved here, that didn't actually work out. So
Oh,
after a month, I was basically here in Torino trying to figure everything out on my own.
on your
Anyways,
own.
yes,
Yeah.
but no, everything worked out for the best. And I mean, there's that brought so many other challenges, but I mean, oh my gosh, moving to a new country with a huge language barrier. I don't
Yeah.
know that much Italian, so that was the main challenge. Definitely moving to Italy
Well,
when I first came here.
I mean, I know you're a dual citizen, but why did you decide to move? Was it spontaneous, or was this a big dream of yours, or was it really because you were
Yes.
dating an Italian that kind of made you come here?
Yes. No. So about 5 years ago, I really knew that I wanted to move to Italy. On my 30th birthday, I went to Florence by myself. I said, you know what? I'm taking a trip to Italy. I'm going to just, chase my dream of doing that. So I did. And then I fell in love with the country. And obviously I have Italian descent. My grandmother was born in Italy. So I did want to make a change for myself. I started the process in Toronto at the Italian embassy.
Right.
And when I went to go book the appointment online, Samantha, the appointment was 2 years
Yeah,
later
that's
because,
actually early nowadays. Sometimes you can't,
wow.
the wait lists are 2, 3 years long just to get on the wait list.
Wow,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah, it's
incredible.
terrible. Hmm.
So I booked the appointment. 2 years later, I get the appointment, and that was in 2020
Mm-hmm.
of COVID. So everything stopped. The process
Right.
just was on pause. So all in all, it took me 5 years to get my Italian
Yeah, pretty
citizenship.
typical. Pretty
Yeah.
typical. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got my citizenship, And it was actually the time when I was with my ex-partner, so it was perfect timing to start planning that this is the decision we were going to do. So
Yeah.
it was a year of planning, of course. You when you pick up your entire life and move to a new country, it's a lot of planning, to say the
Sure.
least. So yeah, all in all, it took about 6 years to make this big move.
Yeah.
So
So
I
nothing
mean,
spontaneous.
yeah, no, I mean, when people ask, like, why did you or how did you? And it's not something you can do overnight.
No, no. Obviously, it takes
Definitely. So
tons of time.
yeah.
So, what are you doing up there now? Are you working? Do you
So
work in
I'm
Italy?
working. Yes, I'm doing content creating in Torino
Hmm.
for certain brands, but I also work remotely, which is I'm very very fortunate for. I'm working remotely for a Canadian company in Ontario part time, so it's basically called smart working. They call it here.
Yeah.
So I'm
Right.
doing that, and then I'm doing my content creating
Hmm.
and trying to inspire people to
Right.
not necessarily only move to Italy, but I mean to, chase your dreams. And if there's a burning desire that you want to change your life and completely, I don't know, just
Just go
change,
for
change,
it.
yeah, just
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
what I did.
but now you're there by yourself up in Torino and you've been there
Yes.
for 8 months. So
Yes.
have you built at least a little community of some friends yet? What are the challenges
Yes.
besides language and stuff? What are you finding
Yes.
culturally? What's the most difficult thing for you?
Yes. So the first 3 months, I would have to say, were extremely difficult. In Torino, and it's very well known, and even the locals will say North. Maybe it's different in the South, but North Italians typically are a little bit reserved.
Mhm.
I thought I was going to move to Italy, and everyone was just going to be like, "Ciao, let's be friends." Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? And moving here, it was not. It was not like that. So I was
No.
like, you know what? I you need to really push yourself to
Yeah.
try and make friends on your own versus waiting for people to come in and try and make friends with you,
Mhm.
especially because there was a language barrier. So it was hard to connect. However, there are so many resources online. Like there's Facebook groups for expats and there's Facebook groups for activities to do in the city.
Yeah.
So I just started doing it. I just started connecting with people online, and then also pouring my passion and energy into my social media and creating content in Torino, and basically showing people all over the world how much I loved the city and still love the city, and
Right.
the things to do and where to eat. And yeah,
And
and
that
then
probably introduces you to, a lot of
absolutely,
people as well, because,
absolutely.
that's one of the great things about social media. There's things that are really horrible about it, but there's also
Yes,
really
yes,
great, it's really a great connection, especially for people like you who moved and you're on your own and you're having to almost build your tribe again. And it's
yes,
perfectly okay to hang around people from your own culture at the beginning,
yes,
because you have to communicate and this is
exactly.
perfectly normal. So, and that's usually how you're going to meet. That's how most people meet.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And through my following, I have met so many people here, so many locals, and so many people wanting to help. Like if you need even just like accountant or real estate agent
Yeah. Yeah.
or places to eat and hidden gems in the city. And it's been such an incredible experience in that way, how I have built this community that I feel like I have so many friends. Like
Right. It's good.
all my followers are all my friends, and I love it so so much.
Oh,
It's
so
wonderful.
tell me about Turin. So if people, or sorry, Torino, if you
It's
guys,
funny.
if
It
you
is
guys are,
Turin.
yeah, if you are up in, like, I mean, I've been up there, just through there, actually, to be honest.
Sure.
I love the mountains because I'm from the west coast
Yes.
of Canada. So I grew up on the sea, and then I'd skip out of school and we'd go skiing in the daytime, and then we go to the beach in the afternoon. So
Amazing.
we go up to the mountains there because I do miss it, but I don't really know that city well. So tell me about it. Tell me where the best places to eat and go, and if I was just going to visit for a weekend.
Yeah, so I mean, the typical cuisine here is Piemontese.
Mm.
So it's very interesting because we are very close to the French border, France. So the cuisine is actually very French inspired, which kind of surprised me moving here because I thought it was going to be like Rome and like Bolognese and
Mm.
cannellonis, but it's very French inspired, but it's very, very good. So the typical dish here is vitello tonato, I
Mm.
believe that's
Vitello
what it's
donato.
called. See, and it's basically, it sounds so simple, but it's incredible. It's basically roast beef with like an interesting cream sauce on top.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean that was very interesting to me because it doesn't sound Italian. Do you know what I mean? Roast beef with
Well,
cream on top.
no, of course, but you're in the north, so it has to
Yeah.
be creamy and warm, and
Yeah.
it's and full, just like anywhere in the north. This is one of the things about Italy that I've always loved is that you can be in the north and all the way, like you already described, the people, the culture is a bit different up there, and
Yes.
the way that the communities bind up there, very much more northern, like more German, more French, a little more distant than in the
Yes.
south, which is very connected.
Yeah.
But the food is totally different too. It's
Yeah.
very, very wintry kind of food. I always equate the
Yeah.
north.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting that even the dialect of Italian is completely different as well. Like apparently every 10 kilometers you're getting a different dialect
Well,
of
yeah, and you have a different
Italian.
language up there too in Piemonte. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
So, tell me what's your favorite restaurant?
Oh my gosh. So it's called Tre Galli
Hmm.
in Torino. And it's, obviously pasta, meats, but it's in this really cute area in the city. And yeah, I mean, listen, I'm still trying new restaurants
Right. Yeah, you've only
and
8 months.
I know, only 8 months. So I ask my followers all the time, where do I go to eat? Where do I get gelato?
Yeah,
Because I want to try all of the best of Torino. So piano, piano, slowly, slowly.
yeah, you're getting there,
I'm getting there.
eating your way through it
Yeah,
all.
exactly, exactly. And I need to do my goal. My next goal is to do a focaccia
Mhm.
tour of the city and go to all these focaccia places and then decide which one's my favorite. So,
Oh,
but
fantastic.
yes, 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 yes. So
So, what do you do there? I know you're working. Do you work every single day? Is like what's your
yeah,
average
so
day
the
like?
typical day is Monday to Friday, and then online for my Canadian company that I work remote. And then my free time, I am dedicated to the city and I'm out filming and I'm shooting and I'm, trying to think of new ideas to kind of the feedback I get the most, which is so beautiful from my following, is that it's so nice for people, even living in Torino, to see a foreigner from Canada coming here and really showcasing the city that, some people live here and they're like, wow, Torino is not really that exciting. It's kind of boring. But me showing all the beautiful things, people take it for granted, right?
Hmm.
So coming from Toronto, I mean, I can go outside and sit in a piazza right now in December, have a coffee with a light jacket,
Yeah.
like, and now
Oh,
in
I
Toronto,
know.
I believe it's like, I don't know, it's snowing and it's freezing. So for
Yeah,
me, I'm
and you're in the
just,
north, and you're in the
yeah,
north in Italy, which is even colder. But you're right. Yeah, us Canadians, this is nothing. This
it's
is just
totally,
nothing. This is like
it's totally,
spring.
exactly, exactly. So I'm here every day, just excited to explore. And, my followers here are just like, thank you so much for showing this city to people around the world who don't know about Torino or had
Yeah,
never
because
heard of it.
I don't think I mean, obviously it's a big city and people know of the city, but it's not on the main list of
No,
places where people go. Rome, Florence, Venice
exactly.
typically is where people end up. But
Yeah.
it's always nice when you venture out. I find it really interesting when I meet people who have made that huge move to Italy, to a place they didn't know anything about, and
Yeah.
they moved to. I spoke to a lady yesterday who was moving to an older lady, moving all by herself down to this incredibly tiny, puny, tiny little seaside town in
Wow.
Calabria. And I
Wow.
said, "Oh, have you been there before?" And she said, "No, no, but I look and the pictures are nice." And I
Makes
thought,
sense.
and I thought,
Makes
that's so
sense.
brave to do that. And,
Yeah.
because people are always wondering, that's a big decision. Where do you
Yeah.
live?
Oh,
Are you happy there?
absolutely.
Like, I mean, it sounds like you are, but do you travel a lot through Italy? Or are you just still just really exploring your neighborhood?
So I am currently still exploring, but in the summer, what's great about Italy, and I know that you know this, that it's so easy to travel within Italy, whether it's by train or
Hmm.
a quick flight. But in Torino, the sea is about an hour and a half drive, which is, suspecting that this is why people don't usually visit Torino for a long period of time when they think of Italy, because the sea is a bit far.
Hmm.
The closest is called Liguria. So in the summer, I would take a train down there,
Hmm.
2 hours, and spend the day at the beach, and then and come back, which is amazing. But
Hmm.
my plan is definitely to travel more of Italy in the summer. Right now, it's Christmas time, so it's people are like, "Do not
Yeah.
travel within Italy around Christmas time because it's just crazy." And I don't, there's a lot of strikes I find with the train as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. They do. They like to do their strikes for sure, but at
Yes.
Christmas time they can't, which is kind of a good
Okay,
thing.
that's
Now,
a good thing.
what about your family back home and your friends? Do you miss everyone?
Yeah, so I have to admit, Samantha, the first 3 months were extremely difficult. It's a shock to the system.
Mm.
You know, you pick up your entire life, and you know, I am so happy being here. I don't know what the future holds, but at that time, you're like, oh my god, I'm here forever, and I miss my family's gone and my friends. But
Yeah.
after, it was like this 3 month period, and then once I started getting more comfortable and kind of, getting familiar with the language and being able to order a coffee in Italian without, like
Without
getting scared.
panicking.
Yeah, without
Mhm.
panicking. But no, I mean, of course, you're gonna miss your family and friends, but I I really feel at home here. I really,
Yeah.
really do. I really do.
Nice.
Yeah, it is a really nice feeling. So
So what advice, I'm sure people ask you all the time, how did you move here? And what is it like? So what advice, I know you gave a really good description. I love that you are so honest about that it's not super simple. It's not really easy.
no.
Forget all the steps you have to take, but emotionally
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
finding your way, and you're still finding your way in your new home. And it's
Yeah.
so, I think with Italy, people have these ideas of what Italy is from the movies and,
Hmm.
and just from this, from
It's true.
podcasts, from maybe vacations. And there's usually a little bit of a disconnect when all the dust settles and the honeymoon ends and
Yeah.
they realize that life is life. And yes, life, in my opinion, lifestyle and priorities here fit me better. I'm much happier and healthier in Italy than I ever
Yeah.
was in Canada. So it's
Yeah.
definitely my place to be. But, it sounds like you went through that and probably will continue to, because I still every so often get a bit pinched sometimes and think, oh,
Yeah.
I feel like a stranger here. I'm not fitting
Yeah.
in a certain, because, culturally we are who we are. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give to somebody, or what do you give to people? I'm sure people ask you that, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
when they want to move here.
It's true. You know what? I truly believe that if there is a burning desire in you that you want to make a change in your life, and I felt really, I had a corporate job in Toronto, and everything was quote unquote stable. Okay, let's say.
Hmm.
But I was sitting in my cubicle. I was working in the same industry for 15 years, and I was sitting in my cubicle the last 2 years of my career there, and I was like, this just can't be it for me. I want something bigger for my life, in the sense of a big change and more culture, more experience, more life, and even health wise. And it kept coming back to me, and it was really, really affecting my mental health, where I knew if I didn't make the change, I would regret it. And I know it
Hmm.
sounds cheesy, I know it does, but I really didn't want to regret anything in my life. And even if I, and this is the thing that I always said to myself, is that even if I did make the change and I moved here and it didn't work out, or it wasn't for me, I would never regret it because it's such a brave move to do. And at
Mhm.
least I can say at the end of the day that I tried and I did it, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you don't make the jump and that risk and try, you you may
Yeah.
regret it. So
I
it's
think
it's
in
yeah.
I think it's great advice, and I think that it's more devastating or it's sad when you don't take that step because you're afraid of the result. You're
Yeah.
thinking too far into the future.
Too far.
Sometimes it's just you just need to get through the next little bit, and don't think of. I always say, don't think of the 10th step. Just think of the next step. It's all you have to do.
Exactly.
And, getting here is just the first part. And then it takes a very, 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 very long time. Did I say that enough?
Yes.
Very long time to find your way and make your friends and learn the
Yes.
language and
Exactly.
understand the cultural behaviors so that you don't stand. And I think to always understand that you will always be a foreigner here in this country and you'll
Yes.
never be Italian, and that's perfectly fine. And I
Yeah.
say this over and over again because I think that's how people feel. It's like, oh, I don't fit in. It's like, well, you're not Italian, and that's perfectly
Mhm.
fine. But
Yeah.
finding your groove is, I think, the most important thing. It sounds like you're on your way there. Sounds like you're finding
Absolutely.
it happen.
Absolutely. And again, I can't stress enough, and I will be real, is that, there is always going to be ups and downs, no matter how long you live here, like you just mentioned.
Hmm.
What I think is important is, I will never be, Italian, but it's just respecting the culture and immersing yourself into it. And again, not being scared to, and leaning into that fear and that change, really, really inspires even yourself to just keep going if you're happy. So
Yeah,
hope that makes sense.
it does. That's great. It's
Okay.
great advice. It's great ending to it.
Okay.
So listen, I'm going to put your links obviously to your Instagram
Oh, great.
on the show notes. Do you have a website too, or just the Instagram? Is that where everyone can find you on your
Yeah, just an Instagram for now. Yeah, maybe in the future a website, but step by step, remember?
step by step?
One
Yeah.
step at a time. But yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. And I do love inspiring people to, and again, it's not just moving to Italy, but it's, all the challenges and changes that, can create this, beautiful life for yourself if you want
Yeah.
to. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. I
thank
love this conversation.
you.
It's
Me
so nice to
too.
hear from you and
Thank
hear
you
what you're doing
so
up there. And
much.
hey, if you're down in the middle here, if you're down in Florence
Yes.
anytime, you know where I am. You have to
I
give me
would
a ring.
absolutely love that. We'll go
Yeah.
for a glass of vino.
Yeah. Oh, you bet. Twist
Yeah.
my rubber arm.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
All right.
Samantha.
You take care.
Bye.
Ciao. Well, that was fun. I love speaking with people who are still in that very first year or so of their new lives here in Italy. And I just loved Vanessa's honesty about the highs and the lows and the changes that she had to go through. And of course, everything in between. Now, if you want to continue to follow Vanessa's journey, I highly recommend that you check out her Instagram channel. It's called The Tenacious Blonde. The Tenacious Blonde. It's on Instagram. And I've added a link in the show notes so you can find it easily. Now, here's what else I want you to take away from the episode. It's okay to be scared, and it's okay not to have all the answers, and it's okay if your plans change. But if there's something in you that's pulling you toward a bigger dream, whether it's Italy or even something else, please don't ignore it. Start where you are, make a plan, even if it's a loose one, and take that first step. I talk about it a lot. It's not about the 10th step you have to make. It's just about the next one. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and leave a review because it helps more people find the show and start their own journey to their new life in Italy. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, ciao for now. It's time for listener questions. Just like the old radio call-in shows, my team has picked 3 listener questions, all left on our voicemail. I have no idea what these questions are, but I haven't been stumped yet. Are you ready? Let's get started. Question number 1. What are the biggest challenges of moving to Italy and how can I prepare for them? Wow. Okay. This is a big question. And I mean, there's a lot of challenges that you'll face, but I think one that a lot of people don't talk about is the idea or the acceptance, really, that you are a baby again, that you're moving to a new culture and a new country with people who know nothing about you, about your past. You have no credit rating, you have no point of reference. The people who you're meeting don't know anything about you. And what I find, and even nowadays, I still find it sometimes when I meet new people, that they don't know about your past. So they talk to you, and often if the language is a barrier, I find that they sometimes will talk to you like you know nothing. And it can be a little bit frustrating because in your mind, you're thinking, wait a minute, don't you know I was, a lawyer for 20 years? Or don't you know that I've bought and sold 4 different houses? This is not new to me. All of these life experiences that you know you have, they're new here and nobody else knows you really have them. And it's uncomfortable to sit there and boast about your life. So you just kind of stay quiet and get a little frustrated because all of who you were that you've been propping yourself up on over your life is now kind of gone. Although it's still in your mind, to everybody that you meet, you are just completely new and kind of a baby insofar as nobody knows who you are. So I find that a lot of people don't talk about that being a challenge. It's a mental challenge to get over and to kind of let go of your past life and all the things that you identified yourself with and let in all of the new things that are happening to you. So the best way I would say to prepare for it is just to think about that and when you're feeling frustration about, when people talk to you and say, don't you know this? Or assume that you don't know something that really is quite basic to you. Just take a breath and remember that you're starting brand new here and to give yourself some time. Question number 2, how do I find housing in Italy and what should I look out for? Okay, so I'm not sure what you mean by housing, whether that's to rent or to buy, but the advice I'm going to give kind of fits with both. You need to think of 2 things. One is, what is your budget? And the second is, where do you want to live? And sometimes those 2 will not meet. So for example, I want you to go, whether you're renting or you're buying, think about your budget first and don't think, well, I'll decide later when I can see what I can get. That doesn't help anyone. It doesn't give you a plan and it certainly will frustrate your agent. So make sure you think, okay, my budget is €1,000 and I want to live in Florence. And then you need to go online and you need to look at Immobiliare and Idealista. These are 2 main websites for property, and I'll link them in the show notes. And you need to go there and you need to see what you can get and where you can get it for €1,000 in Florence. And eventually you'll see what you can and cannot get. And if that doesn't work, you'll need to change 2 things, either your location or your budget. So get really clear on your plan. That's the first thing. Forget about all of just this dreamy searching. Really be honest with yourself. Say, where do you want to live and how much have you got to spend? And then go from there. And question number 3, can I bring my family or pets with me? And what are the requirements? Okay, those are 2 very different things. So first of all, pets, yes, you can bring your pet with you to Italy. Now make sure wherever you're coming from, whatever country, you speak to your vet first. Make sure your pet is healthy to travel. And then you'll need some documentation for immigration and also contact the airline that you'll be flying on because they may have some rules on how you can travel with your pet. Now, once you get to Italy, the funny thing is your pet also needs to establish residency and get a passport. So when you get to Italy, wherever it is that you're settling in, you will need to register them with the local health authority for the animal side of it, and they'll get a little Italian passport. It's kind of fun. But that's your pet side. The family side, yes, of course, you can bring your family with you to Italy. If you are a European citizen or an Italian, it's easier to bring them in. Usually what we do is family cohesion, which means you all come together, you go and take residency, and then your family will apply for a permit to stay based on the fact that you are a EU or an Italian resident. But if you are a visa holder, like a digital nomad visa, investor visa, or even a student visa with more than 12 months of a course, then yes, you can also bring your family. But there's some new rules that have just come out. And if you're listening to this right now, it's January 2025. So as of this time right now, family reunification, there's been some new guidelines by the government that is kind of causing a bit of a stir, and it's a bit complicated. and there are some options for you. But basically, you will need to get a visa in advance of bringing your family with you. Now, the best way to work through exactly what's happening now is to go to a blog that I just wrote about this, and I'll put the link inside the show notes. It's on our Substack. Italy Per Te is our newsletter. So make sure you click on that link if this falls within you, if you want to bring your family and you're coming on a visa. Well, that's all for this week's episode. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about visas, citizenship, property, and well, really anything about moving to Italy that you would like me to answer in an upcoming episode, please feel free to send us a voicemail at our website at smartmoveitaly.com/podcast, or just click on the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and remember, you can find all of the resources and the links to the people and the places that I mentioned in this episode inside the show notes. Ciao for now. A New Life in Italy podcast is a production of Sentire Media, created and hosted by me, Samantha Wilson. Production by London Nero, and with special thanks to Ali Frothingham, Sofia Pisana, and the entire team at Sentire. Follow A New Life in Italy wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you're thinking of moving to Italy, whether full-time, part-time, or for a lifetime, come and see me over at smartmoveitaly.com, and we'll help you get here and start living your best life. And don't forget, if you love this episode, please rate and leave a review. It's much appreciated. I can't wait to meet up with you again next week, same time, same place. Ciao for now.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com, that's SENTIRE media.com, and find out how to submit your show.